Hi everyone, this lesson is for geometry students. This is chapter 4 of trigonometry, exit ticket review number 6. So let's get started. First question says simplify this expression. You have the square root of 88. So square root of 88 breaks down and you have options. You can break it down by 2's or 4's, or even 8 times 11, which I don't recommend. I always try to recommend breaking down by perfect squares. So I'm going to go with square root of 4 and then times 22. And then square root of 4 is 2. So that's 2 times root 22. And that's your answer. You can't break down. If you think about breaking down 22, that's just 2 times 11. And neither one of those is a perfect square. So that's not helpful. So we're done. The length of side of each of a square is 11 inches. So this would be 11. Find the length of the diagonal. Now, so what you're looking for is this length here. Now this right here, we know if it's a square, we know that the legs are equal to each other. We know that that's 11, so that's 11. And realistically, we did this review. It's a little bit of a review in geometry in my classes, but that would be 11 root 2. But if you haven't done that before, x root 2, then what I would recommend you doing is to take use Pythagorean theorem. So in using Pythagorean theorem, we're going to say side squared plus side squared because it is a right triangle to find the diagonal there. And we're trying to round to the nearest tenth. So even though I had this answer, I would actually also need to use my calculator. But using the Pythagorean theorem, you would say 11 squared plus 11 squared is equal to your hypotenuse squared. So we have 121 plus 121, which is 241, is equal to the hypotenuse squared. And so in order to get rid of this square value here, we're going to square root it because that's a half power. So we're going to square root both sides because they do want actually to the nearest tenth. So the hypotenuse, or that value right there, using my calculator, I'm going to take the square root of 241. So let's do that. And I know this is loading up. So to find the square root of 241, we are going to go square root second and square root and type in 241 and hit the enter button down here at the bottom. And that's going to give me an approximate value of 15.52. And so plugging that in, so so because I just approximated my values, these are going to be approximate values. So you're going to do this little squiggly thing. So I'm going to say that diagonal, or that hypotenuse, is going to be approximately, what did we say? 15.52. So it's approximately 15.52. Okie dokie. All right, next problem. We have, for the next value, it says, given the equation of 1/5 x plus 2, what is the measure of the slope angle? What is the measure of the slope angle with the horizontal? So we know that we're starting at 2, so up 2. So there's that value here at 0, 2. My slope is up 1 over 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this value is here. This is 5. And so what they're asking you for this is to make this, first of all, we're going to make an angle. All right, so what I would expect that you would do is to use an arrow to make an angle, right? Make sure it goes through both points, which this doesn't. So let me fix that. And in making sure that it goes through both points, okay, and we're getting there. There we go. So what you want though is for your graph to go through, there's my line, okay? And there's my line. I'm going to make that a red line and a solid line. Okay. And so I have that line. That's the equation of that's the line equation. All right. So given that, what they then want me to do is to make my angle with the horizontal, which is right there at y equals 2. So this equation here is y equals 2. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make my equation with this line based on, okay, what I have is this little line here. And so I know it's a little bit tricky to see, but I'm trying to find the angle that this makes with the horizontal. I know that my slope is 1 over 5. So, right, up 1 and then over 5. So what's happening here is what I really, really want is this little angle inside there. Okay, I want that angle. And so in order to find that angle, we're going to use tangent of that angle. So we're going to set this up because our formula for our ratio, our slope, is tangent of theta is equal to the opposite side of the triangle over the adjacent side, so ADJ. So O over A, opposite over adjacent. So what we have is tangent of theta. Theta is what I want. Theta is that little angle right here. And so I can even make this little triangle a little bit bigger, okay? So this is the angle, this is what I have. And I have, this is 1 and this is 5, and we're trying to find that little angle right there. So if you're standing right here on this corner, you're thinking opposite and adjacent. Now this is my hypotenuse, and I don't want that. I'm given the opposite and the adjacent. I'm going to use tangent. So I'm going to say, well, tangent of theta is equal to 1 over 5. Theta then is going to equal arctangent, okay? Theta is equal to arctangent of 1 over 5. So what you're doing is you're finding, this is the inverse, right, of tangent of theta. So this is arctangent. And so in order to find, and we use arctangent, by the way, when we're trying to find an angle, we use the arc, to the -1, okay? So in doing this, I'm going to say arctangent of 1/5. So, oops, let me get the calculator out. So I'm going to say arctangent, which is behind this tangent button, so that, because it's the inverse. So arctangent of 1 divided by 5, you're going to close the parentheses. And again, you need to make sure your calculator is in degrees. If it's not in degrees, you're going to get the wrong answer anyways. This is about 11.309. So going back to my question, it says I did get theta to be about 11.309. And the question, though, says round your answer to the nearest tenth. So this is my 10th. So I'm looking to the right, which is 0. That's not 5 or above. So my theta is approximately 11.3 degrees. And so that's how I find theta. Cool. Refer to the triangle below. Find the value of A. So again, A is opposite. Here's my hypotenuse. I don't have my hypotenuse. I'm not trying to find the hypotenuse. What I'm trying to find is little a. So I'm going to use tangent, and because that's opposite and I have adjacent and it's a right triangle. So we're going to say, just use this little formula. Tangent of theta is equal to the opposite side over the adjacent side. So we're going to go tangent of 40 degrees is equal to little a over 25. Now, keep in mind, you're not using arctangent. We're not using that. And the reason is because we're not trying to find the angle. When you're trying to find an angle, you use arctangent, but we're not. So all we're trying to do is find this side, which is part of our slope ratio, right? The rise of our change in y over our change in x. So to find little a is a side. We're going to cross multiply, all right? And so we're going to say 1 times a, which is a, is equal to 25 times tangent of 40. And so I'm going to plug that into my calculator. A equals, and remember that I am going to round off when I'm done. See this tangent of 40? That is rounding off. So using the calculator, let's see, we're going to say tangent. Whoops, that didn't work. Let me quit out of that. Let me go back to my question. What am I trying to find? Tangent of 40 times 25. Okay, so we're going to say tangent right there of 40, close parentheses, is equal to that value, 0.839. And now I'm going to multiply that by 25. So I'm going to go times 25 equals. And I get 20.977. And so going back, I'm going to plug that in, and I get little a is approximately 20.779. Sorry, 977, 20.977. And it says round to the nearest unit. So they're asking for the whole number. So realistically, then now a is approximately 21. And so that would be the answer. For this problem here, we're trying to find a side again. And, you have options. You know that the sum of the angles of a triangle add up to be 180. And what that means is that that 90 plus 65, right? 90 plus 65 plus this angle here is going to equal 180 degrees. Similarly, 90 minus 65, we also know that this angle here is 25 degrees because that's just 90 minus 65, all right? Now, you have two options, okay? Your options are you can either be standing at this corner here or you can stand at the other corner. Let's just say I'm up here at this corner. There I am. And so using the tangent ratio, which is the only one we know so far, we're going to say tangent of the angle, which is 65 degrees, is equal to the opposite side over the adjacent side. So that's going to be 58 over x. Opposite over adjacent. So doing that, I'm going to get x times tangent of 65 is equal to 58. And then I'm going to divide by tangent of 65 on both sides, and I get x equals 58 divided by tangent of 65. Use parentheses 2, by the way. The other option that I had was to put myself at this triangle, the end over here by this angle. And in doing that, I could also say tangent of 25, because you always use the angle where you are at. And by the way, you are not ever going to use this right angle here, only the corners. So tangent of 25 is equal to the opposite side over the adjacent side here, okay? And then for this problem, I would just cross multiply, right? X is equal to 58 times tangent of 25 degrees. So remember, we're trying to find a side, and this is going to be approximate, and they're asking me to round to the nearest tenth. Both of these are going to give me the same answer. So I just have to work them out and just see which one, which way is the best way for me to use. I'm going to use tangent of 25 times 58. I could do that one. Let's see what happens when I do that. I'm going to go tangent, oops, not that. I'm going to go tangent of 55 and get that number. Nope, tangent of, what's the number? 25. Tangent of 25 times 58. Sorry about that. So we're going to go tangent of 25. And I'm going to get that number. And then from there, right, I'm going to multiply by 58. So multiply by 58. So you go times 58, and then you hit equal. And I get 27, like approximately 27.045. So that's going to be, depending if I'm rounding to the nearest tenth, right, I would cut this off here. So it'd be about 27 nearest tenth. So this value here is about 27. Now, for this, I'm going to go 58 divided by tangent of 65. So let's do this again. So we're going to go 58 and 58 divided by, then use parentheses, tangent of 65, close the parentheses, equals 27 again. You got to get the same answer, because you're doing the same problem. You're finding the same length of the side, but you're just doing it two different ways. So, either way is going to, produce the same answer. And if they're asking me for the nearest tenth, again, 27.04 is not going to change. That's going to stay. For the next problem, they ask me to, given the triangle ABC, find the value of tangent C. So they're not asking me for an angle. They're not asking me, because if they were asking me for an angle, they would either say the measure of angle C, or they would say find the value of C. Capital letters are the angles. Because they're not doing that, they're not asking me for the actual angle. What they're asking me is probably just the ratio. So you just put yourself at the angle, which is C, and they're asking you for the value of tangent of C. So tangent of C is equal to, and it's just opposite over adjacent. See, this is my opposite side. This is my adjacent side, right? And so they're asking me for that over that. So that's just 16 over 30. And so you're just going to use your calculator and divide 16 divided by 30. And that's 0.333. So tangent of C, angle C, is just the ratio. This is my ratio, is approximately going to be 0.5333. And that's it. For this problem, it says refer to the triangle shown below. Find the value of B. This is B, okay? Now, angle B, round to the nearest degree. So they want whole number. So again, I don't need the hypotenuse. I'm not looking for the hypotenuse, so that's out of the question. So we're going to say, use this formula, tangent of theta is equal to the opposite side over the adjacent side. So we're going to say tangent of angle B, so I'll use a little dot there, like, you know, for angle, is equal to 28 over 11, which means that I'm trying to solve for B. So B is equal to arctangent. Remember, when you move this tangent over to the other side, it becomes arc, and that's going to be 28 over 11. And so little b, angle B, is going to be approximately arctangent of 28 divided by 11. And so that's going to be, let's do that. So we're going to say arctangent of 28 divided by 11. Close your parentheses. I get 68.5 degrees, so that rounds up to 69 degrees. Okay, so B is approximately 69 degrees. And then we're done. Cool. Next. A forest ranger spots a forest fire at the top, from the top of a lookout tower. Okay, so here's the tower. Spots a fire from the top of, so let's just say way down here is the fire. Okay, there's the fire. And the tower is 160 feet tall. The angle of depression to the fire is 12 degrees. So that's a tricky question. What they're saying is, what you guys have to understand is that when they're talking about the angle of depression is always based on a horizontal, okay? Which means that this length, this right here is the angle of depression. It's like you're going down. That's the angle of depression, okay? So that value, the angle of depression, is 12 degrees. Now, also keep in mind that the angle of depression, because these two lines are actually parallel, the angle of depression also happens to be the angle of elevation. They're the same exact number. So the question is, to the nearest foot, how far is the fire from the base of the tower? This is my tower that is 160 feet tall, so they want this value. So based on what you have, we're not asked to find the hypotenuse, so we don't need that. We are asked to find this length right here, this x, but we know the opposite side and we have an angle. So we're going to use tangent. So tangent of the angle, which is 12 degrees, is equal to the opposite side, so 160 divided by x. We're going to cross multiply, and we're going to say x times tangent of 12 degrees is equal to 160. And I'm going to get x is equal to 160 divided by, parentheses, tangent of 12 degrees. So let's do that. On your calculator, you're going to type in 160 degrees divided by, and use parentheses. So parentheses, tangent of 12 degrees, and close your parentheses and hit equals. And you're going to get approximately 752.74 degree or feet. And then it says in the question, to the nearest foot, so they want the whole number. So if you're looking to the right of the whole number, 7 is above 5, so that means this value moves up to be about 753. So that would be my answer, 753 feet from the base of the tower. A car is headed up a hill with a grade of 5%. So be careful with this, because your car's going up the hill. And what that means is you've got a road grade, and grades of road are always rise over run. So what do we have? We're trying to find the angle of elevation, and all they gave me, which is a 5%, okay, grade. And remember what percent means. Percent is actually 1 over 100, right? So what this is saying is 5%, which is 5 over 100, which means that the rise, this right here is my slope ratio, right? So that's your 5, and this is your 100. Rise change in y over your change in x. So that's my rise over my run. So we're going to say, use your formula, because we're not using the hypotenuse. We're using the opposite side and the adjacent side. So that's OA, opposite over adjacent, that's tangent. So we're going to say tangent of theta is equal to the opposite side from where you are. You're here. I mean, I know the far, and you know, whatever. You put yourself at the angle. So tangent of theta is equal to 5 over 100. So theta equals arctangent of 5 divided by 100. So use your calculator, and I'm going to say arctangent. You guys can do this. Arctangent of 5 divided by 100 yields 2.86. It says round to the nearest hundredth. So what I'm getting is approximately 2.862405. So the nearest hundredths, tenths, hundredths. Look to the right. Is this number 5 or above? No. So therefore, my answer is approximately 2.86. What is the angle of elevation? So this is an angle. And so 2.86 degrees. For this problem here, it says the measures of two sides of a triangle are 14 and 25. So here's a triangle, here's 14, here's 25. What they want to know are all the possible ranges for the other side of the triangle. So for that value, you just have to keep in mind, remember two sides, the sum of two sides of the triangle have to be greater than the third side. So what you're going to do is you're going to say, well, x could be anything less than and greater than some value. The value on the right and the value on the left are the sum and the difference. So you're going to say the one on the right is going to be 14 plus 25. And so that's going to be 39. So this value has to be less than 39, okay? And then less than, okay? And then greater than, now you're going to talk about the difference. So 25 minus 14, and that's 11. So it's got to happen in between 11 and 39. Because think about it, right? If the sum of the two sides has to be greater than the third side, if this side was 39, these two sides, when you would add them up, are going to equal 39, and therefore that wouldn't even be a triangle. Okay, so that would be out. So what you've got to think about is greater than, meaning these have to be greater than the third side, and then this has to be like 14 plus x has to be greater than 25, and 25 plus x has to be greater than 14. So these are the values that are going to work. It's got to be greater than 11, less than 39. So that's the exit ticket. Good luck, and see you in class. Hope that helped.